What would happen if the NFC and AFC played each other in a football game? Well, I made the rosters. We'll start with the NFC offense. At QB, I have Matthew Stafford. There's really not that many elite quarterbacks in the NFC. All of them are over in the AFC for whatever reason. But Matt Stafford is a solid veteran to have at the helm. The weapons that I'm giving him in this game are CeeDee Lamb, one of the best wide receivers in the past few seasons, Jackson Smith-Njigba, who was maybe the best wide receiver this past season, and Puka Nacua, who is arguably the best wide receiver of the past 2 seasons combined. And last but not least, George Kittle, top 5 tight ends for the past 6 seasons in a row. Always good to have him on your team. And on the ground running, we have Christian McCaffrey. It was between him and Saquon Barkley. I gave the edge to Christian McCaffrey just because he's had more good years recently, but those two are basically interchangeable. And he's going to be running behind Trent Williams, Penei Sewell, Joe Thuney, who I moved to center for this occasion because there's so many good guys on this line already, Tristan Wirfs, and Jordan Mailata. The reason I moved Joe Thuney to center is because there really aren't that many great centers in the NFC, especially now that Frank Ragnow has retired. So I figured it'd be better to have a really good lineman who's had some experience in the past snapping. I think that would be better than just choosing some random center. Now that's quite the O-line. So who do we have stopping that? Well, the AFC defense, our D-line is looking like Max Crosby, Chris Jones, Jeffrey Simmons, and the Myles Garrett. Now that has a chance to actually put up a fight against this O-line. Not to mention covering the gaps, we have TJ Watt, Roquan Smith, and Josh Hines-Allen, but that's not even what I want to draw your attention to on this AFC defense. These DBs are just something else. We have Pat Surtain, Derek Stingley Jr., and Sauce Gardner, topped off with the safety Kyle Hamilton. Pat Surtain and Kyle Hamilton are the best at their positions in their own right, but Derek Stingley Jr. and Sauce Gardner might just be number 2 and 3 cornerbacks in the league. This is the backfield of doom and despair right here. But if we look over at the AFC offense now, we've got Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. Honestly, you could argue in Josh Allen into his place. I would not blame you. But I think it's fair to say that Patrick Mahomes is still the best quarterback in the league. And especially with these weapons we've got for him. We've got Jamar Chase, Nico Collins, and Brian Thomas Jr. Not to mention the best tight end in the league, Brock Bowers. If you pair up Patrick Mahomes with these guys, I think he can make something happen no matter who he's going up against. And on the ground rushing, we have Derrick Henry running behind Trey Smith, Quinn Menierez, Creed Humphrey, the best center in the league, Quentin Nelson, and Deion Dawkins. I would say not as strong an O-line as the NFC, but very good in their own right. And in order to stop them, we have the NFC defense. On the line, we've got Nick Bosa, Dexter Lawrence, Jalen Carter, and Aiden Hutchinson. Now that right there is a D-line if I've ever seen one. Definitely would not want to run up on any of these guys in an alley when they're angry at me. And our middle linebackers are Fred Warner and Zach Bond. Very great, with Micah Parsons on the edge. That is a sight to behold. However, if we look at the DBs, they're definitely a step below the AFC DBs. We've got Jalen Johnson, Devin Witherspoon, and Cooper DeJean, all playing the corner position. Safety, Xavier McKinney, one of the best in the league. However, as I said, not Kyle Hamilton. But if we break it down by position, looking at the quarterbacks, it's clear you got to give it to Patrick Mahomes, best quarterback in the league. Not much to say about it there. The running backs, on the other hand, we have Derrick Henry versus Christian McCaffrey. I'm going to give the edge to Christian McCaffrey. He's younger. He's had a couple more good seasons recently. I think it's fair to say Christian McCaffrey takes this one. The tight ends, got to give it to Brock Bowers. I think he's the best tight end in the league, as good as George Kittle has been for so many years. He just doesn't quite have the ceiling that Brock Bowers does. Now we can actually look at wide receiver matchups individually. CeeDee Lamb versus Pat Surtain. I think Pat Surtain locks him up, as good as CeeDee Lamb is. Jackson Smith-Njigba, however, I think could outrun Derek Stingley Jr. And then at the end, these guys were really hard to choose between. Sauce Gardner has not let up much, but Puka Nacua is just that good. It's not going to be a crazy game for him, but I think he'll be able to get some yards. On the other hand, we have the AFC wide receivers. Jamar Chase is definitely going to outrun Jalen Johnson. Nico Collins, I think, has the edge over Devin Witherspoon. However, I think Cooper DeJean might be able to hold Garrett Wilson in the end, so that's where I stand on this. Looking at the linebackers, TJ Watt's definitely the best on the left there. However, I think Fred Warner does take the cake over Roquan Smith as the middle linebacker. And then over on the right, you obviously have to give it to Micah Parsons. Looking at the D-lines, have to take Nick Bosa over Max Crosby. Max Crosby's very good, not quite to the level that Nick Bosa is. Chris Jones obviously over Dexter Lawrence. There's just a little bit of a gap there. And I will take Jalen Carter over Jeffrey Simmons any day. But this last one is very tough. Aiden Hutchinson versus Myles Garrett. You have to take Myles Garrett. You have to. But Aiden Hutchinson, if anyone, definitely gives him a run for his money. And maybe in a year or two, Aiden Hutchinson can get the edge over Myles Garrett. But not today. Now, here's where a big difference lies. If we look at the O-lines, if I'm honest, Give me Trent Williams over Trey Smith. Give me Penei Sewell over Quinn Menierez. I will give it to Creed Humphrey, best center in the league, over Joe Thuney. However, I'll still take Tristan Wirfs over Quentin Nelson and Jordan Mailata over Deion Dawkins. Now that throws things off balance a lot because I do think that a lot of football games are won and lost by the lines, and if there's that much of an inconsistency among these two, that could definitely play a role. But let's actually look at it on the field. This is our AFC offense, and if we're looking at their rushing game, we've got Derrick Henry running the ball, but I really think that this NFC D-line is going to pummel this AFC O-line, and I don't think they're going to be able to get much done on the ground. So if we look at their passing scheme, we've got Brock Bowers, Jamar Chase, and Nico Collins with Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball to them. I think that they're going to be able to run these short flats and slants all day. I think it's just going to be short gain after short gain, short passes all the way. I think that's how they're going to be able to get most of their yards here. And you can dump it off to Derrick Henry and have him run if things don't go the right way. On the other hand, when the NFC has the ball, I don't think their passing game is going to work as well. This secondary is going to lock down these guys up front, and it's going to be hard to get anything going there, especially with the D-line pressure coming from Myles Garrett and Max Crosby off of both ends. I just don't think it's going to work. However, I do think their rushing game will have a little bit better of a chance. As I said, this is a very strong O-line, and even though we've got these crazy guys on defense, I think that our guys on offense are going to be able to hold their own, maybe make some room for Christian McCaffrey to run. We know he can get through some bodies, and I think that's how the NFC is going to attack this game, just breaking down the AFC defense by running it a lot. So who do we think is going to win this game? Both of these teams in their own right are unimaginable and would win the Super Bowl in a heartbeat. However, there can only be one winner, and I'm going to give that to the NFC. As I said before, a lot of games are won and lost by the line, and I think the best O-line, D-line combination goes to the NFC. It's going to slow things down, give them a little bit more time to breathe in between each hit, and I think that's how they're going to tire out this AFC team and climb to an ultimate victory. As always, that is just my opinion. This game didn't actually happen. If you think I missed anyone important, or if you think the game would have gone the other direction, let me know down in the comments below. And if you did enjoy this video, leave a like and maybe subscribe. Maybe I'll do something more like this in the future. If you want to see how your division would match up against other divisions, be sure to subscribe and be around for the next video.